Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, creative content right here in Chesterfield, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. We've got something a little bit different for you today, a case study, if you will. We caught up with Teresa Ervin, who is the mayor of Florence, South Carolina. Now, you won't be able to see the mayor. You'll hear her, and she talks a lot in this about sort of what Florence has gone through in recent years, the types of change and things that they've gone through in terms of bringing in more development, bringing in more industry, and what that's meant for the tax base there, what it's meant for the residents there, and certainly what it's meant for the city as they go forward. So without further ado, let's hear from the mayor. Madam Mayor, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, and thank you for having us today.
Very, very glad to have you here, and certainly an interesting topic. You know, there's a lot that localities are trying to do in this current economy and in this current time in the world to figure out ways to change maybe the way that the tax revenues come in, and they're trying to give more amenities to their citizens and their residents. And I think Florence is an interesting case study in that. And I wanted to talk to you for a little bit today about sort of your experience there in Florence. How long have you been mayor? And talk to me a little bit about how far Florence has come in this specific area in terms of growth and development. Where were you guys, and now sort of where are you now?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. And I've been mayor since 2020. I was elected in November of 2020. But prior to that, I served as a city councilwoman. I served on the Florence City Council from 2010 to 2020. And when I look at where we have come from, it's the fact that as a city, we have been very deliberate in our efforts to look at how we can increase our economic development. Mm-hmm. And by doing this, we focused a lot upon partnerships. So for me, over these last 10 years, now 12, I've seen us grown in our ability to work with our county and also our neighboring cities. And that is where we have found great success by utilizing partnerships.
With the sort of the steps you guys have taken, what were some of the introductory sort of baby steps of that process? And then when you got that ball rolling, what did it look like? What kinds of industry, what kinds of manufacturing, what kinds of things did Florence do to really get that ball rolling?
Well, first, I want to call out the significant fact that we have the Florence County Economic Development Partnership, mm-hmm. and that is a partnership with ourselves along with also our county and other agencies. So by developing this partnership, it helped us to enhance the resources that we have here in Florence County. Mm-hmm. So I am the mayor for the city, but then we have our county. And I always state that the mere fact, the city, we have the water, but the county has the land. Mm-hmm. So in order for us to progress, we needed to partner with the county, which is something we've done with this partnership. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, we have experts in their fields who come together to look at what we have available here in the county of Florence. There are times when we have our representatives who are in Columbia, who are on the front lines of seeing what possible industry will be available. So by having that partnership, we're able to get that information, and information is power, because therefore we get to see what the industry is looking for. And what we in turn do, we look at what can we do to make our county and our city more attractive. And that has been a detailed part of what we've done, seeing what industry is looking for and being sure that we're on track to be sure we can provide that. And I'm sure you'll probably ask more detailed questions later, but for us, seeing what was needed, after we found out what's needed, we developed those partnerships and a vision of how to meet those needs. So when the industry come, we will be attracted to the industry.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the when the industry, when Florence decided to, these partnerships came together, and the opportunity to bring in different, sources of industry became available. What was the reaction like among residents? How did they sort of see that plan? Were you met with lots of questions? Did folks, was it welcomed with open arms? What was the reaction like from a lot of the residents in Florence?
Excitement. When you have industry coming in, you have now more job potential. And in order to keep, especially your young population there, they're going to need opportunities. And if you do not create an atmosphere where you have that opportunity, they will seek opportunity elsewhere.
Right.
So we as a city, we want to keep our talent here. So in order for us to do that, we must strive to bring the industry here that will provide those opportunities. So our citizens are excited every time we make an announcement along with our partners. They're excited. So no, we're met with excitement.
Yeah. So in terms of, I want to say it's roughly 200,000 in Florence in terms of your population. Is that about right?
Well, for the city of Florence, we're
right.
closer to 40,000 for the city.
Got it. But in the MSA, it's roughly 200.
Roughly in that area.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned a minute ago that that when you make an announcement, there's a lot of excitement. I'm not going to ask you to put a specific number on it, but I'm just trying to get a sense of how many announcements are we talking here, right? So, what are some of the types of industry? What are some of the companies that have come and put in, put their stake in the ground in the Florence area? What kind of success have you guys had in terms of bringing that development opportunities to your locality?
I want to give you an example of just today itself. Today I went to industrial site, which is located off of 327. We actually had a nonprofit who just broke ground today. So mine standing there watching Harvest Hope break ground, I literally turned around and looked across the highway to where there is a Buc-ee's that is getting prepared to open. Mm-hmm. So that's our success, nonprofit and profit, growing in our industrial site. And when you think of the fact that we now have an industrial site, and that is developed because when we have industry coming in, we want them to be able to see themselves here in Florence City and County. So that industrial park is so important to us. Not only that, we just recently had the announcement we have Niagara, which is a bottling company. Mm-hmm. And so even from standing there at the nonprofit, you can look across and you can see Niagara. And that is important because of the mere fact, as a city, we have the water and the sewage. Therefore, now we've got a water bottling company here. Mm-hmm. So we've had much success. And these are things that's happened within a few years. Mm. So now that we have the industry growing, others are seeing that. And that is making us more attractive because we have that industry here. Yes.
You just mentioned, several years. That was actually my next question, was to ask, how long did it take for this whole plan to sort of come together to go from, the time frame that all, ideas come, right, to fruition? What sort of time frame have you guys been on in putting all this together?
Well, it's been a couple of years. And what a lot of people don't factor in the fact that when you start with an industrial park, usually you're going out there with this land space. And then you have to get it prepared. You've got to think about the infrastructure that goes in there. So if you're looking at doing an industrial park, it's not going to be overnight. Mm-hmm. First of all, you've got to prepare that site so the industry, when they come in, they can readily see this is where we can be located. It's a difference between going in and looking at land that has that infrastructure in place than going in and looking at an area that's still covered with maybe a lot of forestry and bushes and things like this. When they come in and see an industrial site, they can now picture themselves there. They can picture their building there. But also we're looking at, with our partnership, of doing spec buildings. So if you have an industry that comes in, they see that building there, they can look at what do they need to do to upfit it so they can get out and running quickly. Mm-hmm. So for any city, county who's looking at that, that's going to take time for you to get your site prepared. That's going to be where your first initial time allotment will be. But once you prepare, they will come because you have the site and you must market it as well, though.
In terms of the sort of bigger picture, obviously, you mentioned that your residents are excited, the jobs are coming. How has that changed Florence? Or do you feel like it has changed Florence? I can understand for some folks who aren't accustomed to sort of seeing these types of industry and opportunities come, they might look at it and say, well, what's it look like now versus what it was? And I'm just curious, from your point of view, how has Florence sort of changed over time as these different projects and things have come online?
Well, when you have various projects which came online here, you also then look more closely at your livability. As citizens, we may be comfortable with what we have, but as you're growing as a city, people look at their opportunity when they're not at work and they want to be able to relax or just enjoy some fellowship with others. We had to look at tourism. What kind of things that we have or will we have here to bring others here? But also when instead of having to ride to another city, they come to this city so they can enjoy their time here. So with that, we actually focus upon, and I will invite everyone to come see, especially our downtown area. It's a beautiful area that over the last couple of years, over the 10 years, has went through a total facelift. If you were here 10 years ago and you came back now, I promise you, you would not recognize the downtown because it's grown so much. It's so beautiful. It's a walkable city. So therefore, with growth of industry, tourism increased. Also, when you think about the fact that when you have people coming, you want restaurants there. Where can I go and eat? Where can I go and shop? And what things will you have available for my children when they want to go someplace to play? So we are now a full service city. We have a beautiful downtown. We have tourism. We have sports activity. And I must say, just recently, one of our high school teams became state champions. And that was not by chance. So with that, when they did their lower state semifinals, it was held here in the city of Florence at our Florence Center. So thereby having that center there, people came in not only from Florence, but from the surrounding area to be a part of that. So when you start to bring jobs in, you expand on the things that you need to have a comfortable life for your citizens. But not only that, you think about you have hospitality taxes. So you're generating more income, more funds that you can thereby pour back in to your development. Yeah. So it's really and truly a cycle. When you have that industry there, when you have happy citizens who are staying there and you give them activities to do, now you have a city that is truly, I call a holistic city.
Right. In terms of taxes, let's talk about that real quick. The obviously any sort of diversification, right, of your tax base is a good thing for any locality, regardless of size, regardless of location. And I'm just curious, as you look at, as the budget process work, and certainly I'm guessing you guys are probably in the midst of one there as well. I'm just curious, what is that tax revenue, that extra tax revenue that you've gotten from those industrial projects? What has that meant for Florence, and how has that translated to everyday citizens who live in and around the area?
Well, when you think about a diverse tax base, when you have taxes that are coming into our county, and I always speak to the county because usually Atlanta's in the county area. Those funds in return is placed into the county, and then the county actually take those funds and distribute them or work within various areas. The city of Florence is a part of Florence County. So when funds are generated in the county, the city benefits because it's poured back in things like repairing our roads, repaving. Also, the county councilmen have funds available now that they can invest in various projects in the areas that they're representing. So those funds that you generate will come back to your area to make your livability better. So it should be a cycle. You generate those funds, you bring them back in to make more improvement, making yourself more attractive, thereby attracting more industry.
Right.
So that is how it should work.
Yeah. All right. Last question for you before we wrap up. I'm just curious, what's next? What's the next step? I mean, obviously in a cycle it never really ends, right? You're doing things, you're bringing in folks, you're actually, you're delivering on more amenities, which makes the locality even more attractive to both residents and industry, and it sort of never ends. But I'm just curious, what's the next step for Florence in your opinion?
We have got so many things that we're focusing upon that right now we're actually in the process. We have our comprehensive plan, which is a 10-year plan that projects us out. So we have that vision and that pathway. But I'm proud of the fact that at the same time, the county is working on their comprehensive plan. So while we're doing it, our partners are doing it. So we can have that shared pathway and vision, which is very important when you're working with your partners. So we have that plan. But also at the same time, I think most of the countries are aware of the fact that everyone is coming out of COVID. So we did a lot of planning during COVID. which now we're at a place where we can start implementing some of the things we planned when we were more of a shutdown phase. Mm-hmm. So for us, we're looking at some major things. For me, we still want to be that green city. So we've developed some committees on a city level that will help us be able to position ourselves so that we can actually receive more funding that come down from our federal government mm-hmm. to help make our city more attractive, but also more of a green city. We're doing that. And we're also working on, just like we said, more economic development, more bringing more companies in. Also, how do we assist our present businesses, especially ones that we have our small businesses and our business downtown. So we're doing that. We're looking at community development. We have communities that we're still investing in, our traditional historical communities, that we want to be able to bring them back their past glory. So we will be working with community development, economic development, and also our pathway to being a better green city and being that great partner. So we have a beautiful county collectively as well.
Good deal. Well, Madam Mayor, thank you very much for your time today. We very much appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking to us about Florence. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here. And at any time, if we can work with other cities, we're always glad to do that because we believe in being good neighbors so we can have a better PD, but also a better state and United States as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. My thanks again to the mayor for joining us today and talking to us about all of the things that are happening in Florence, South Carolina. I very much appreciate her time, and I'm very glad that she was able to join us. Now, you can check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield, Virginia, all one word. On Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Make sure to like that page so you can keep up with us as we go forward. Now, let me tell you about all the ways you can check us out. You can watch us on our YouTube channel and on our website, Chesterfield.gov/podcast. An audio-only version of the show is available there, as well as on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, and a whole host of other services. You can also watch the show on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, and on the weekends at noon, that's Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, you can check out Chesterfield.gov/connect with us for more information on how to get in touch with us, and also for a way for us to get in touch with you. My thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Susan Pollard, and all the good folks here at Communications and Media for making this possible. And of course, my thanks to you for joining us today and giving us a shot. So, for all of us here in Chesterfield, have a good day. We'll see you again soon.